The time has come to talk about living and killing again, and in our previous course we've come up with a rule of thumb to define when you need to attack and when you need to defend. So it was the rule of 8 points. When your group has fewer than 8 points of territory, then you know that this group is probably a little weak and you have to defend it. And when your group has more than 8 points, then it's probably strong enough and you don't have to do anything about it. And now that you know when to attack or defend, it's time to talk about how can you attack your opponent's group when it's weak and how can you defend your own. A lot of books were written about this, there were lots of rules and principles and tips and hints, but in this lesson I'm going to give you just 3 basic rules of attacking and defending. And because I'm an aggressive player myself and I love attacking, we're going to start with the 3 principles of attack. And principle number 1 is so obvious that a lot of people take it for granted and sometimes they even forget about it. And that is, you have to make sure that your opponent's group is surrounded before you attack. What I mean by that is, sometimes you see your opponent's group that it's not completely surrounded yet, and it has an obvious weakness there. You can see that you can invade right now, and you can reduce that eye space to just only 1 eye. And this is exactly where you have to restrain from attacking, from invading right now, but surround the group first. This is an oversimplified and exaggerated example, but something very similar to this could actually happen in one of your games. You're playing black and you're looking at this white group here. It has that conspicuous point in the middle and you're thinking about playing there right now. But let's see what's going to happen now. Do you think your opponent doesn't see that? Of course he does. Once you play here, white is going to jump out. And at the same time, white is attacking these 3 stones. They're becoming weaker and they might struggle in the future. So now if black tries to persist and keep on attacking, white will just keep on jumping and, he's going to take all of these points now. And this seems entirely unreasonable, but this is a mistake that a lot of players are guilty of. And I've made this mistake quite a few times in the past. I'm so ashamed of myself here. So every time you see that weak group that seems to be waiting to be attacked, but it's not surrounded completely yet, you just have to hold your bloodthirsty horses and restrain yourself from being too aggressive and greedy. In this situation, it's a lot better to simply surround the group first. It's a very calm and simple move, and at the same time it forces white to live right now, otherwise you're going to kill with the next move. So white has to spend a move to live painfully with 3 eyes, and it's your move again. So now you can spend another move trying to expand your moyo, or maybe even defending the corner like this. Anyway, this looks so much better for black. You're not losing anything except giving 3 points of territory to white. But of course, some of you might say here, no. I'm going to attack right now, and because I have a plan, I know I'm going to kill this group. I'm going to kill this group. I'm going to keep on attacking, and I will kill it. And maybe you will. There's maybe a 1% chance that this group is going to die, and then you look at me and you'll say, see what I can do. But that's only a 1% chance, and there's a 99% chance that this is going to fail and you're kind of throwing your game away. But it's simply not worth it putting your entire game at stake here, and it's a lot better to just make a simple and peaceful surrounding move first. So, surround before attacking. Before we get to the second principle, there's a new Japanese term that I have to teach you. It's unavoidable because there doesn't seem to be an equivalent for this term in English, and that's the word hane. What it means is, let's say black has a stone like this, and white attaches, and now black can attack this stone by playing hane. This move. It's a diagonal move which encircles the white stone, a diagonal move around your opponent's stone. Black can also play a hane like this from the top. Or black can think of simply extending, and then white can make a hane like this. And there's a famous Go proverb that goes like this: there is death in the hane. And what it means is that when you're thinking about attacking your opponent's group, very often a simple hane is going to work. It will reduce the eye space and it won't be enough to make eyes anymore. And that is our second principle. After you've surrounded your opponent's group, the first thing you should think of is reducing this group from the outside, decreasing the eye space and making it smaller and smaller and smaller until finally you'll be able to strike in the middle and kill it. And here's a simple illustration of that principle. These 7 black stones on the second line are trying to live, and in Go there's a saying that 6 die but 8 live. We're talking about the stones on the second line here, and what about 7? Will 7 stones live? If white simply reduces the eye space from the outside by playing this hane. Black will block, and then another hane from the other side. Black blocks again, and we have this 3 spaces inside, which means that we can strike in the middle and this whole group dies. And if you're thinking that that was a little too easy and maybe unrealistic, let's see one more example. And this is another fundamental shape in the corner, and if you haven't seen this before, no worries, I'm sure you will see it many times in the future in your games. Black has a group, and if we count how many points black has inside, black has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7. And before you start getting into some complicated variations here, the first thing you should consider is, what if we simply reduce that eye space from the outside? Let's try that. White simply plays here, hane. And this eye space becomes so small that it becomes impossible for black to make eyes there, to build 2 eyes. If black blocks, guess what white does next? Another hane and another reducing move. Black blocks again. Do you recognize the shape inside now? Exactly, that's the shape from our previous lesson. That's the bulky 5, and it has that weakness in the middle, and this is exactly where white plays right now. And after this black group is dead. But of course, a simple hane or simple reductions from the outside are not going to work every time. And in this case, we have principle number 3. And that is, if reductions from the outside don't work, find the vital point inside and play there. So sometimes when you're trying to read the life and death situation, you see that no matter what move you play, your opponent always responds the same way, and that move just saves his group as if by magic. Which means that probably that is the vital point. That's the key point that you have to take. And that's the point you have to take right now before even making any reductions. And here's another second line problem as an example of this. Black is trying to find a way to attack and kill these white stones. And the obvious way is trying to reduce from the outside, playing here. And it seems to be working, but then if white simply blocks like this Atari is threatening to capture 3 stones, and capturing 3 stones will give white 1 eye. This is 1 extra eye for white. So black can't allow this to happen. Black has to connect. And now white has enough time to take this key point and live. And now if we go back to the very beginning, knowing that this is the key point, black can play here first. Take the key point, and if white tries to live, black has enough time to reduce the eye space to only 1 eye. And capturing 2 stones is not going to help white at all. After white captures these 2 stones, black will throw in, and white is left with only 1 eye here, and white is dead. And this is a more complicated example, but we've seen most of the principles involved here before, so let's have a look. Obviously, a simple hane is not going to work here, and if black tries to hane from the outside and reduce the eye space, white blocks, and white has 2 eyes immediately. But how about this beautiful sacrifice that we have here? Remember, black can throw in here, and if white now takes this eye will be gone, but white won't take it. White makes 2 eyes right now. And yes, surely black can take the 2 stones, but the group will live. And the way of solving this is finding the key point. And the critical point in this white shape is playing here immediately. Because this move threatens to connect, and after this, white can only have 1 eye, so white has to cut. And after this, finally, black can sacrifice and take this eye. And this is an example of a successful attack. So once again, first, before attacking, you should make sure that your opponent's group is surrounded completely and it can't escape. Second, you have to try to reduce it from the outside. And if you see that a simple reduction from the outside is not going to work, then principle number 3, you have to find the vital point and play there immediately. And now that we move on to the principles of defending, you will see that they're exactly the same ones, except they will mirror the principles of attack. So the first principle will be, if you have a choice between making eyes right here and trying to escape, then escaping is always best. So if you're not surrounded completely and you're under attack, you have to escape right now. Don't make eyes on the spot, because making eyes is always painful. That's exactly how strong players will try to trick you when they're playing a handicap game with you. They will attack your groups even if they're not ready for it and try to force you to defend painfully and passively, whereas in fact you didn't have to defend at all. You could simply escape out there in the open, and this is exactly what you have to do. And principle number 2, when you're completely surrounded and you have to make eyes, then the first thing you should consider is expanding your eye space as much as possible. Here in this example, black is trying to live, but black has a bad eye shape. This is a square block of 4 points, which means that black only has one eye. So black needs to try and expand his group as much as possible, and the only direction he could think of is playing here. If black plays too close, like this is not good enough, because black is still left with only one eye. And if black goes too far, white is going to cut it off, and again, it's not enough. So the way of doing that is attaching like this. White attacks, and now we have to expand as much as possible by playing here. This gives you the biggest amount of space possible. If you simply play like this, white will hane and you only have one eye. If you play like this, again, hane, atari, and still one eye. But when you descend like this, there is nothing white can do about this eye anymore. So white can play here, and you keep your second eye, and you are alive. And if expanding your group doesn't really work, then you have no choice. You have to look for the vital point and take it. Like for example with this group here, black has a very small group, and the first instinct you have is to try and make it a little bigger. So playing like this seems natural. But unfortunately after this, white will strike here right in the middle, and black won't be able to make 2 eyes after this. Even if black keeps on crawling, white blocks. Black tries to make an eye here, again by maximizing the space, but white extends and black cannot make 2 eyes. So if the second principle doesn't work, we have to try and find the key point. And the key point is the same, it's right here. Black plays here, and there's nothing that white can do here anymore. These 2 points become miai. If white takes this one, black takes the other and lives. And in the same way, if white plays here, black will extend and make the second eye here. So once again, do not let your opponents surround you easily, and don't make eyes before you can simply escape. But if you're completely surrounded, then try to expand your eye space and your territory as much as possible. And if you can't do that anymore, then you have to find the vital point and take it immediately.
By the way, you can also watch these lessons on our platform, gomagic.org. Except there, you'll watch them with interactive quizzes right within the lessons and practical exercises right after them. And if you enjoy watching these Go videos and you don't want to miss others like this one, go smash that like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and this is Go Magic.